I was like, wait a minute, is that the caffeine? Like, it was crazy.
Well, Kjell Gerber.
Kjell Gerber.
Kjell Gerber.
That's me.
This is the Blue Collar Future podcast. So I've been following you for a little while and wanted to have you on because you do some crazy stuff.
Yeah, a little bit.
Travel all over.
Yep.
Take pictures of big machinery. And
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about that.
So I work for Buildwitt.
Yep.
If anybody listening to this doesn't know who Buildwitt is, you can go, check us out online and stuff. But anyway, Buildwitt started about 5 years ago, give or take. And it started as like a social media management, and photography, videography, marketing stuff for construction and mining, And Aaron Witt started it, and I was following him for a while, and I was following him for quite a while, and he ended up seeing the content that I was putting online for my family's construction company, and that was kind of how I got recruited to go work for him at Buildwitt. So, I jumped on there with him about 4.5 years ago, and it's been kind of a wild ride
that long
ever since. Yeah.
So you travel quite a bit then.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So how often do you head out to go and where? I mean, just anywhere somebody wants you to come take pictures.
We work with contractors all across the country. So we've even done some international work. I've done one shoot up in Canada a couple months ago. Other people in the company have been to Europe and Australia and South America as well. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I've seen a little bit of Aaron, but so does he do photography too? Is that how he started?
Yeah, that was how he started. He started as going around taking photos for companies, and then basically he realized that, well, hey, I'm going and taking all these cool photos, but nobody's using them. They're just dying on a hard drive. So then he started offering social media management, right? Because then he would run the social account for the companies he was going to shoot photos for. Yeah. So it naturally grew from there to where, oh, hey, we got a lot of cool photos. Hey, can you build us a website? We really need a website. So then he started building websites for people, with a lot of help from, web developers and designers and everything, contractors. The way I got started doing work with him was doing video editing projects for him. So
and you do still that, or you also take like pictures more, or? Yeah.
So when I came on full time with him in March of 19, basically he was like training me to sort of like duplicate him and be able to go out, shoot photos in the field. And then he also had me start running some website projects, which I did that for about a year. So
that's cool. There's a lot of people that don't know much about social media or websites.
Yeah.
So my wife and I have a business building websites for contractors as well. Yeah. I hired a photographer to come take pictures for my family business on a side job I did. And I've been using those for me. And it's super, super helpful to have good pictures. Like, I don't think people understand, but I think that it's a little bit awkward sometimes for people. Like, a lot of blue collar guys don't want someone taking pictures on the job. So have you come across anybody that's like really like awkward about that?
Absolutely. It like all over the place. And it's different now than it was a few years ago, because social media and like content creation, photo, video work, like it's just so much more prevalent now than it was even 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah. So in a lot of ways it's gotten a lot easier. But still, like, you still run into people that, they're kind of your typical kind of old crusty guys that, they've had their photo taken, a handful of times, and it was either for school, a mug shot, or their wedding photo,
or family pictures or some crap.
So they're not, a lot of people aren't super stoked to have somebody running around their job site with a camera, but it's kind of like what you were saying, like there's a lot of value in actually having, quality photography for the industry, for contractors, you know, individual companies, even people, you know, like you'll hear stories. I'll get people telling me, oh, hey, like that photo you took of so-and-so, whether it was, you know, sometimes it's for themselves or sometimes it's for, you know, one of their employees. It's like, man, you really captured the heart of that person, like who, like you really captured them. And like that, like there's a lot of intrinsic value there. And, you know, sometimes it's hard to quantify it or put a monetary value on it, but it's there.
Yeah, no, it really is. I mean, if you look at other industries, like other industries have been in this photography and content game for a long time. I feel like trade work is a little bit behind. The people that are like top of the game have been doing it for a long time, but like it's not as widely accepted to be doing it for just your everyday contractor. So you guys are really like dirt world specific, right?
Yeah.
So like excavation and mining companies. Do you have other contractors that have you?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of expanding the definition of dirt world a little bit. It's kind of evolved over the years. Basically, like right now, we're kind of operating under this dirt world definition of the people that build the infrastructure that supports society, right? And then there's also kind of like that one step removed of like those companies that support the people who build the infrastructure, right? So, you know, different vendors and suppliers and those types of things that, you know, sell products or whatever they do to support contractors, you know, or the mining industry or whatever. So we're kind of
Expanding that.
broadening our sphere of the type of people and companies we do work with.
I just saw the Dirt World Summit.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Sponsored by Ariat.
Yep.
Big deal.
Yeah. The summit was really cool.
Was that your guys' first year doing that, or was it okay? Yeah.
It was the first year for the summit. And the summit was really like, it was really cool. I can kind of speak to it because I've been around with Buildwitt for a while.
Yeah.
In August of 2019, Aaron hosted the first Buildwitt roundtable, is what he called it. And basically what he did was he sent out, you know, an invitation to the clients we had at the time and was like, hey, like I want to have this in-person event, you know, we'll do a dinner and we'll sit, you know, in a conference meeting room at a hotel or whatever. And like, we'll just talk about like the issues and challenges you guys face as contractors, you know, whether it's safety or workforce development or estimating or whatever it is. And even though Buildwitt was like super small at the time, he was able to, you know, kind of cast that vision for these really forward-thinking companies that we were working with at the time. And we got like 14, you know, executive level people from the companies we were working with come to Nashville. And we had this like 2-day event. And it was, you know, it was pretty small compared to what the summit was a couple weeks ago. But like that was kind of the genesis of it where like, you know, hey, let's just bring in some like-minded people and let's really talk about the challenges that all these people, all these different companies are facing and kind of like, you know, come together and work together to solve them. So it was pretty cool seeing like the, you know, kind of full-blown evolution of that on display with the Dirt World Summit. So that was pretty awesome to be involved in. And like I didn't help you like plan it or orchestrate it or whatever because, you know, I kind of work in a different area of the business. But it was really cool to be there and connect with a lot of people. And, you know, there's been quite a bit of, you know, fanfare, I guess you could say, from people like kind of all over social media. Like LinkedIn kind of has blown up for a couple weeks with, you know, at least my feed has been with people that were really impacted by attending the summit and like what they learned and like solid takeaways and, you know, people sharing stories of like new things they're putting in place within their companies just, you know, a week or two after Dirt World. And it's like, I'm already excited for next year. Like, I think it's going to be super cool.
And you guys had Jocko.
Yeah.
What, did he speak?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So Jocko and Echelon Front, they do, they put on events all across the country called the Muster, where it's like, that's their, like 2-day, leadership, extreme ownership training conference or whatever you want to call it. And basically what we did was we kind of partnered with them, and they did a mini version of their Muster. So Jocko and Jamie Lynn Cochran and JP Donnell, they spoke. The first day was kind of dedicated to their stuff.
Oh, so that's cool.
It was pretty cool.
That's way cool. And so then the second day was more industry specific, I guess.
Yeah.
Or okay.
Yeah, it was, and not that like Jocko and them weren't like industry specific, because the principles they teach, like they transcend industries, and they were. There were certain times where like they were doing like Q&As, and they were taking questions from people in the audience that were like very specifically, dirt world focused. And then they would tailor their answer, based on like their teachings and stuff, but they would tailor their answer to that like specific dirt world situation. Yeah. So it was industry specific, even though it wasn't as well. Yeah. And then the second day was pretty cool. There was a lot of talk, like Marcus Sheridan presented on marketing, and he has a whole philosophy. It's called "They Ask, You Answer," where basically like your whole theory behind marketing is just answering people's questions that they have about your company and what you do and what you believe and what you offer, and the problems you can solve. Yeah. And then he used that. He used that and kind of spoke a lot about how to use that same mentality or that same approach with recruiting, right? So because you're like when you're marketing your company, it's just as much for putting your company out there for the work that you can do and perform, right? You're selling your services or whatever to whatever clients are out there. And they need to know what you can do, right? Well, and then also like your marketing should be also focused on recruiting, because you need employees, and they need to know, why they should work there, why they should be part of your company, what makes you a better fit for them, compared to other contractors. So by, kind of following that framework, like what Marcus teaches, it's like, well, they have questions about what it's like working for your company, and like, basically what you should do if you want to recruit them is like just answer those questions. And maybe they're not a right fit for your company, but by answering those questions, you'll attract the right fit. Yeah. So
those pictures help.
Yeah.
Those pictures help by showing people.
Right.
And that's a huge thing. Like you show your guys on the job how you work. Like there's a lot that can be captured in a picture, which is what I've really liked about it. Yeah. What I've really liked. And I only had it, had the pictures done one time, but so one person in a podcast interview though I had, they said you should market for employees like you market for leads for your business. Yeah. And that really hit me, because not a lot of contractors do, like almost nobody does that. Yeah. Almost nobody.
No, they just post a job opening with like, oh, hey, here's all your responsibilities that you're going to have to do. And, your qualifications, and we want you to have, 2 years or 5 years or 10 years of experience, and it's like, but then like that, it's funny because a lot of times that's what companies post for their job openings. But then if you go and ask anybody at the company, they're like, oh, we'd hire anybody. Like, because I don't care if they have any experience, because I want to hire them and bring them on and train them
their way.
Yeah. I want to train them my way. Yeah. This way of our company, so that, we're not we get to, cultivate their training and their habits that they develop, and we don't have to break down other habits that they've developed from working elsewhere. So like there's so many people like out there in the construction industry across the country that's their mentality, but yet they're, in large part, their hiring practices don't promote that same mentality, because it's like, oh, hey, here's this boring job description.
Or as soon as you need to fill a position, then you post, and then like you take it down as soon as, you get somebody. Like, I know a lot of people are always hiring, which is really what you need to be doing, because if you want to grow something, you've always got to be bringing people in, and training and all of that. I've been kind of figuring out how to work that into my family business, my dad's business too, because there's a lot of value there, and there's a lot of value there to knowing how to hire people, and just one person handling that it's a undertaking. Did you do a lot of that for your family business? Or like, so really. How did Aaron find you? Were you like taking pictures, or were you posting content like on there, or what?
Yeah. So basically, not to go, super into detail or whatever, but I came up through the field at my family's company, Gerber Construction, doing equipment operating, concrete, carpentry type stuff, tying rebar, setting forms. I was a certified crane operator. Did kind of a little bit of everything, for I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, like 7 years about, and then I got the opportunity to be the safety manager for the company, and I'd had the opportunity presented to me a couple years before, but I didn't really take it. I wasn't super excited about it, and I just kind of let it fall by the wayside. And it came back around again like 3 years later, and I was like, oh, hey, actually, this is something I should, I feel like I'm kind of excited about this. I should actually pursue it. And so I did that for a few years, and the first year or so, I was pretty gung-ho. Like, I was super all in, bought in on safety, and kind of changing, from old school construction ways to, hey, let's bring it into the modern day times and into the future. And let's really try and set the example here and do the right thing. And, I ran into a lot of roadblocks, and it was a family company. My dad, loved him to death, but he was the cause of a lot of frustrations sometimes. And there were others as well, and just some things that I disagreed with and didn't see eye to eye with. And that's kind of ultimately why I, left the family business. But to kind of come back, while I was the safety guy, I convinced him that we should invest in a drone. And this was 2015. Drones were not, they weren't that popular then. And we were doing a big bridge reconstruction project up outside Park City on I-80. And the engineering firm on the company, they had a drone, and they sent 3 aerial photos from this big new bridge. We had just set the girders, and they emailed them to our office, the project manager or whatever. And I saw them, and I was like, holy shit, that's the coolest thing. I was into photo, video stuff before as a hobby. So when I saw those photos, I was like, that's cool. Why don't we have a drone? We should have a drone so we can take photos of our projects like that, And I talked to, one of the owners, and once he found out that a drone was only about $1,500 instead of $25,000.
Oh yeah.
They kind of came around. They're like, oh yeah, let's do that. Go ahead, buy it. You're in charge of it. And since I was a safety guy, I was going around to all the job sites anyway. So I'd take the drone, taught myself how to fly it and do the video and take photos and everything. Like I said, I kind of had a background hobby in photo video stuff anyway. So I kind of default became that person. And then over the course of a couple of years and kind of pushing on them here and there, I was able to eventually move into a full-time marketing media role that they created, for me to try out. And because I knew there was a way that we could put out content, kind of broadcast, what we do,
what you do,
who we are, things we build. The people in construction, they're so stoked about what they build, right? And a lot of times they go home and they can't convey what they do to their family because their family can't see it, right? My brother-in-law, his family thought for years he built houses. Oh, he's in construction. Oh, he builds houses. not even close. He's in like heavy civil concrete, right? Very, very different things, you know? So that was kind of sort of my genesis into the whole thing was like, well, like I want to show off what we do, right? Cause like the shit we build is super cool and everybody's really proud about what we do here. So, you know, I kind of made it up and ended up creating a full-time position for myself. Yep. And then through that, you know, and I said I wasn't going to get into all the details, but I think I got into all the details there.
That's fine. That's fine.
So,
and then Aaron found you because of all of that. And then so did somebody take over that kind of media marketing position, or are you still like helping in a way for your family, or like what?
When I wanted to like do it on the side part-time when I left. Yeah. And then just with how things were, you know, for me personally and my workload and with Buildwitt being new and like, that time in my life, I couldn't have like this extra thing. I didn't have the personal bandwidth to be able to do it. And so I told him that, and they ended up hiring another guy that does really great work for them. That's good. But yeah, so I just kind of focused fully on Buildwitt.
That would have been a little bit of a shame if they didn't like hire somebody to replace you. Yeah. Cause it's such an important thing to have, especially when you get to a certain level. I mean, for a small time contractor, it can be easy to look at that and be like, I don't need that. I need to hire all these other people. But past a certain point, I mean, that's what you need to grow.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, it's not everything at all. Yeah. Like I even made a post on social media, you know, a while ago, I don't know, a month or so ago. You know, I kind of titled it like social media won't save your company, or, you know, something along those lines. Yeah. And my whole thought behind that and what I wanted to convey to people is like, you know, it's not that social media isn't important. It's not that putting out content isn't important or anything, but it's only one part of your business. It's only one part of your marketing or your recruiting or your, you know, like communication to the outside world about who you are and what you do, right? And the reason I kind of made that post and the reason why I wanted to talk about that was because I had a conversation with a company owner and they're like, oh, we're dying for, people. Like we need to hire 40 people right now. We're 40 people short staffed for all the work we have. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And, you know, he's asking me like, what can you do to help us? And, you know, I kind of knew a little bit about the company and I just said to him, I was like, you know, this might not be the conversation you really wanted to have or that you were looking for. Cause, you know, like, I think you just want me to try to help you with some social media stuff, and that's cool. And we could do that. But like, what's the other half of your business? What's the other part? Like, are your employees recommending to people that they should work there? Like what's your business actually like? Do people want to work there? Because if you're like, you can put out content and ads and whatever you want as marketing material, but if it's not matching up with, you know, what your business actually is, what your employees say about it, then it's, you know, it's the proverbial lipstick on a pig, right? And people sniff that out. Mm-hmm. They see right through it. So it's, marketing's important, photography's important, video's important, you know, having your branding on point, like it's all part of it, right? They're all ingredients of the recipe, right? Of having a great company that does great work and is home to great people that really want to be there.
Yeah. So you guys with Buildwitt, it sounds like you've started into something and then over time you notice, hey, there's a gap here, or there's a gap here. So you start to offer services based on that. So has that also, have you guys started to offer like some of that education on becoming a company where people want to work and like doing all that stuff because of what you've noticed with the social media marketing and the pictures and all of that?
Yeah. Kind of.
I think I saw in the Buildwitt that it was like helping in the Instagram bio, and obviously that's very face level, but it's helping people attract, hire, train, and retain, or something.
Yeah, exactly.
People.
Exactly.
So, okay. So you've almost come from a place of starting to take pictures to morphed into this thing where you like help people hire and train and keep people around.
Yeah.
So how was that? How long did that come across? Because it's been about 5 years.
Yeah. Man, it was a couple years ago that Aaron and Dan and some other people at Buildwitt, they started talking about the quote unquote people life cycle. And that's the, attract or recruit. I think attract, hire, train, and retain.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So that's it's like a flywheel, so to speak. And they all kind of build on each other, right? They're all independent pieces, but they all build on each other. And so where Buildwitt started was essentially in the attract phase, right?
Yeah, with the pictures and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Just promoting awareness, essentially. Like, and like if you think about social media, the way I see social media is electronic, digital word of mouth, right? Everybody wants word of mouth for their business, right? They want people talking about them, whatever. Social media just scales word of mouth to, a digital platform.
Yeah.
So basically, Buildwitt started as promoting awareness for the dirt world, right? And then, then we started doing it for specific companies who are then hiring us to, to create content for them, or to do their social media, or to do their website and do their brand video. So we have this thing where it's like we try to promote awareness and stuff for the industry as a whole, for the whole dirt world.
And then companies.
We don't exactly get paid, by that, right? So, maybe here and there's something that it's somewhere that's monetized. But to build the business, then it was selling marketing services to companies, right? So the business was really built. The foundation was built on that attract piece, right? And then over the years we started getting into other, the hiring part, right? Like we had, it's evolved a bit, and I don't know all the details and whatever, but we had like recruiters working on our team who we were like selling recruiting services, right? Where we would help contractors hire people for their business, right? And then there's Buildwitt Jobs. Buildwitt Jobs is an online hiring platform. So we actually built it and came out with it a couple of years ago, and then kind of sort of focused elsewhere for a while on training and the Dirt World Summit and those things. But Buildwitt Jobs, it's kind of in its 2.0 phase right now, where we just kind of like built it again and relaunched it. So that kind of helps on the hiring part, right? And then we've got Buildwitt Training, which is a software platform. It's a learning management system that we've built. So part of the business is essentially a tech company, right? And we've taken on investment, that's public knowledge, to help build the software platform, right? So and then we also produce a certain amount of, it's a lot, but we produce training content that goes on that platform, so that customers of training can use that content to train their people, and then they also have the ability to put on their own training on the platform. So and then it's a learning management system, so you can administer the training, track it all that stuff. And then the retain piece, that's the Dirt World Summit is some of that, right? Teaching teaching companies about leadership and
Company
marketing,
culture and
company
stuff.
culture, and how to lead and care for people, those types of things. You know, that kind of really serves that retain portion of it, right? Keep people in the industry, right? You know, because like a lot of people, when they leave construction, some people, they'll go to a different company or whatever, right? But some people, when they leave construction, they leave altogether because there's other options outside the industry. And that's something that we've tried to promote with Dirt World, and with the summit is like, hey, let's kind of all, instead of, you know, fighting amongst ourselves for people, let's come together, be kind of a united front as an industry, and let's, you know, promote awareness in the ability for people to have a great career in this industry.
Yeah. Well, so I've noticed when I started doing this podcast, I mean, on a face level, so many people are pushed to college that it's really looked down upon. Maybe not like everybody talks crap on the trades, but it's like subconsciously, it's like, oh yeah, college good, trade bad.
Yep.
Like, so people are already going into trade jobs with that idea. It's like, okay, I wasn't good enough for college.
Yep.
And then there's no excitement behind it.
Right.
And there's no like promoting what it can actually be like and how you can have a good career. So that's what I've noticed a lot of the problems are. And that is a big part of attracting people.
Yep.
It's like creating excitement, creating the pictures, show you how it can be and how good the jobs can be. Yeah. And they really are. And, you know, I talk with people all the time about how good it is to be in a job like that and always moving and doing something and keeping your mind engaged. And people will leave construction, like you said, and a lot of times they end up like, I don't know about coming back, but I've heard a lot of people say that they miss it because they go to a tech job where they only sit at a computer, and it's like, I mean, if you're not super bought into that, it's hard to be invested. It's hard to be interested in. Yeah.
So when I came up through my family's company, you know, from when I graduated high school till, you know, I left when I was, you know, 32 or something, 31, 32. And that whole time I like, and even before, like, even if we go way back in my memory to like junior high school, I didn't want to work construction. Yeah. I didn't want to, you know. I knew, like, I loved my dad, but I knew I didn't want to be him. But then, like, I never pursued something else, right? And so it was really easy for me when I graduated high school, like, oh, I got a ready-made job. I just go to work with my dad. And, oh, on top of that, I'll make more money than all my friends are doing whatever other stupid little job that they're doing, right? Crap, yeah. You know, and, like, not to diminish them or their experiences or their jobs, like, they're all needed, right? But like for me, it made sense to go work with my dad and make money. Like that's just kind of what I needed at the time. So, and I stayed there. I left a couple times. I did a semester of college, decided it wasn't really for me. Decided to go back to work with my dad. The biggest reason I went back to work after I had quit the second time, this was, you know, I was 21 or something. Me and my wife, you know, girlfriend at the time, we were dating, and I wanted to ask her to marry me, and I wasn't going to go ask her dad if I could marry her and not have a job. Yeah. So I went back to work doing construction, and you know, then I stayed there, and I worked out in the field, you know, from that time for a little over 4 years. You know, again, doing concrete and equipment operating and stuff. And then when I got the opportunity to be the safety guy, I took it, and I started spending a ton of time in the office, right? And then driving around to job sites, learning a ton about safety, OSHA regulations, all sorts of safety stuff. Like I buried my head in my office in the freaking OSHA standard book, you know, and, what I like, it took me a long time to realize that I actually missed building things.
Yep.
Because I didn't ever really want to do it in the first place.
Yep.
But then I did it for so long, and I had that like pride and satisfaction that people get out of it. That like deep fulfillment of like a hard day's worth of work.
Yep.
I had that like every day. And then when I switched and now I was in an office job, which, you know, I'm not going to knock office jobs, but I didn't have that daily sense of fulfillment anymore. And I didn't realize for so long that like I missed that, you know? And so like me personally, like I don't work construction anymore, right? Like I'm traveling around with a camera in my hand, you know, on job sites shooting it. And so like it's an interesting experience for me because I don't actually think that I was like made to work construction. Like that wasn't my path, but I did it for long enough that like to a certain level, I fell in love with it and developed a great sense of respect for the work and for the type of people that do the work.
Yep.
And so even though I left, like, you know, I'm still in it and I still have that love and respect for it.
Yep.
And like, that's kind of like a bit of what drives me to do what I do, where I travel around and capture that and like try and tell those stories about those people and about the work and just share about the industry to promote the awareness of the industry so that people out there that like they might be drawn to it, you know, if they see my stuff or Buildwitt stuff or whoever else's content, you know, it's, oh, hey, that's actually, oh, I'm interested.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. Oh, that's really cool. Oh, maybe I should like pursue that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of my path. Right. And so, like I've talked about it before with people. Like I'm not trying to sell construction to anybody as like, oh, you have to work. Like you have to do a blue collar job or else you're a piece of shit. Or like that's that's not what I believe.
Just to show that they can be.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Just put it out there so that it's in the awareness of people so that like they even consider it as an option.
So that they know it's good. Like it can be good.
Just so that they know that it exists.
Yeah. So that I think part of what's going on here is like in the trade, you were saying that you didn't really know at first and didn't really think it was your path.
Yeah.
But there's such a deep satisfaction of building something. Yep. And people get that in trade work because that's kind of how humans have been for ever. Yep. Building stuff, doing things. And if you have an office job, you have to have an equally strong like passion for what you do.
Yeah.
So I think that transition where you started to take pictures of this industry that you came to love, I think that's probably where that comes into play, because like a lot of people just don't have that passion at their, you know, degree desk job that they got. Yeah. So, and it's really hard. It's really hard to get that. I think it's easiest in a trade to get to that point. Cause like you're constantly doing stuff, building, learning, like progressing as a person, you know?
Yeah. And it's kind of, I've heard it so many times, it's almost a cliche, but like there's truth in it too. And that is when people say, well, every day's different. And I think variety of like where you go and who you work with and what you see and, oh, I'm on this job site and now I'm going to this job site. And like, you get a better sense of the world, like honestly, you know, and like, kind of on that same idea, like I have a better sense of the world after having traveled across the country all over the place for the last 4.5 years. Like my worldview is completely different than it was before, right? Like I felt like I, you know, was in a bubble and now it's, you know, maybe I'm still in a bubble, but it sure has expanded.
It's a big bubble now.
Yeah. So, you know, but like when you're working in construction, like that constant variety is, I think, so important, you know? Like when when I was in construction and when I was doing jobs that were a little more monotonous, you know, maybe like when I was 19, I fed a, you know, or 18, I fed a rock crusher, you know, for like a month straight on a job every day. And it's like, oh my gosh, like,
Yeah.
you know, that was pretty monotonous, and it was fun. It was cool. I liked it. I learned a lot doing it, but at the same time, you know, 3 o'clock in the afternoon when the sun's beating down on you, you know, you're falling asleep. You're nodding off as you're like swinging in to drop a load of rocks in the crusher.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a whole other thing. But.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you touched on that, you know, the sun being beaten down on you.
Yeah.
It adds a level of difficulty, I think, to construction. And what I've noticed is a lot of people, like, construction's very fast paced and very stressful as it is. And so you get like these weather elements coming into play, and you know, you're working through a winter where it's cold and you know, dark outside. It's brutal. It can be, but I think that goes to help your mental and physical strength so much. Like, imagine being inside all the time.
Yep.
At that point, like you go to work, it's dark. You know, you're in an office all day. You get off, it's dark. Yep. Cold, gloomy. Yep. I find it hard to believe there's such a high depression rate amongst in construction, because I think there is, but I can't help but think that people in construction are almost less likely to be depressed, just because of the amount of physical work and the amount you're outside and doing stuff. But
I think that, I mean, I feel like that probably, I don't know what the numbers are, so like I can't speak to any like real, you know, data points or whatever. Yeah. But I think, well, I remember when I was at my family's company, and one of the owners asked in like a leadership meeting, they asked the group, you know, as foremen, superintendents, project managers, estimators, like that type of leadership level of a group. And they said, how many of you would recommend for your kids to work in construction in this industry? And there was, you know, it was less than ideal on what the response was, right? Some of the people, you know, were kind of pretty adamant that they were like, yeah, hell no. There's no way I'd recommend my kid to do this.